And boom, man, we
And
are
boom.
off to the races.
So here we go. Who's going to be first? Who's going to be first?
Looking for a batter. We need a batter. Who's going to step up to the plate?
We said we would be on by 1:30, and we're a little late, so our fault. Gosh.
Sorry, we're late, guys.
Sorry, we're late. We kind of do that sometimes. And
let's see.
who is... Roll the dice.
We're rolling the dice.
Oh,
It's
KK! Hooray! Yeah, you win something. I don't know what, but you'll get something. Some sticker. Yeah. Benzomatic first. We'll take it too. Yep. Dreamin', Puerto Rico. Talisha, Kyle Wolf. Great to see you guys.
Awesome to see you guys.
Awesome sauce, K-heads.
Salutations. Magnificent days, lovely people.
Indeed. It's really curious out there, guys. There's some really strange stuff going on, and we just cannot sit on it. Hi, Jason.
No, it's pretty crazy.
It is. Oh, my gosh. Hi, DJ57. Thanks for stopping by. Great to see you. Yep. Oh, my gosh. And look at that Schumann, you guys. Oh, my gosh. I've had a headache for 2 days, and I know lots of people are.
She's been feeling pretty miserable.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the energy work just takes away for a little bit, and then the energy is coming through again.
Yeah, it comes back through. So
Beautiful day in beautiful Asheville. Again, great to see you guys.
yes, wonderful.
Finally getting notifications. Yeah, isn't that a miracle?
Hooray! What changed? I don't know. We got 25 viewers and 3 views. Hey, cool.
Please make sure thumbs up. Make sure you guys are still subscribed.
Hi, Jason. Hi, Oneness. Great to see you. Hey, Will. Great to see you. Yes.
Wonderful to see everybody. Yeah, there's so much going on. It's kind of fun. Of course, with all the threats of war and stuff, that always adds a little tension. I think the disclosure part is fun.
The disclosure is fun, and it gives us a good time to practice our Buddhist detachment. Yes.
Talisha, your ears have felt strange, warm with pressure off and on. I know that feeling.
Oh, man. Yeah.
There's definitely been a lot of energy coming in through the crown chakra, a lot of connections going on. King of Pirates, Luffy, great to see you guys.
You know, speaking of that crown chakra, like my skin actually hurts on my crown chakra. The skin hurts. It's been this way for like 3 or 4 days. So weird.
It's weird, but hey, you know.
Yes, windy out that way, DJ. Very much so.
Very clear skies. That's wonderful. Here's Thomas Massey, representative from Kentucky, saying, best thing about the government shutdowns, no chemtrails. Yay.
Hooray.
Well, I've seen them, but they spray just before dawn, at least in our area. I do see them. As the day wears on, the skies are starting to remind me more and more often of decades past, more like childhood. And I'd say pre-2000.
Yeah, I know. There's a whole lot going on. A lot. I don't know. They say with the shutdown, they say, well, government workers don't get paid during the shutdown, but they get paid when they come back online. That's still like a paid vacation, because especially if they get back pay. I mean, who is that hurting? Who's going to push anything? They're just kind of enjoying life. It is just so wrong.
Well, let's start over here and look at the Schumann. See a lot of white there. It's big patches of craziness going on with the Schumann. So if you're wondering, why do things feel off? I do think, again, the planet is in a rapid phase of ascension. Everything is being kind of remade anew, and even at the energetic level. Again, what we've gotten from the guides is the very ether is changing. All the elements come out of the ether. So everything is changing. Time itself will be changing. And I think a lot of people can sense that too. That time it's just not the same. It's always changing. We're consciousness, which is eternal. And yet, when you talk about everything's also energy, energy's always changing. It's always in a state of a flux, ebbing and flowing and moving from one thing to another.
So someone wanted an explanation of the Schumann. Sure, it's Earth's resonance. It's a very low frequency of electromagnetic waves that continuously travel around Earth. And it's kind of like Earth's heartbeat. So it's like this steady hum of energy. So it can go up and down. And believe me, since we are part of Earth, when it shoots up, we feel it.
Yeah, so it's been a very intense phase, and in reality, it's been 2 days of very intense phases when you see it white out like this. This is telling you there's some serious ascension work at work. Ascension energies at work. Yes, absolutely. 7.83 hertz is what is typical. Again, it always ebbs and flows. It doesn't stay completely static.
It does ebb and flow, and with the sun and repeated like electrical strikes, the Schumann can also change.
So KP index has gone back down to a little bit more normal level. That was elevated for a few days. There was a larger CME that was observed leaving the southeast limb back on the 2nd, but directed away from our planet. There was a filament eruption as well, and man, it's just, these are interesting times, very, very interesting times, and every time we get a nice, what looks like normal clouds instead of the chem clouds, you just take it as a blessing. We still do have some serious earthquake activity. We have a 6.1 that hit off the east coast of Kamchatka. In fact, when I bring up the USGS here, if it wants to come back up, there was 4 or 5, let's see here. In the last week, we had a 6.9 in the Philippines. We had a 6.1 in Kamchatka, 6.0 Indonesia, a 6.0 just happened today in Japan. So pretty good size quakes for sure.
And a lot too, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of big ones.
A decent amount, yeah. It's something, we're keeping eyes on it. As, again, these are times of just tremendous change. Mm-hmm. What do you make of this? This was supposedly spotted over Arizona. Actually, not too far away. It's in Tucson. The Vatican has a telescope not too far from here. I wonder if somebody's communicating. This was from September 30th. Pretty cool picture. Just the interplay of light. Was it a fake? Or is it something to do with communications from ultra-terrestrials?
Looks pretty stoic. I like it.
Stoic.
Is it? Well, it makes you think anyway. It kind of pulls you in. The energy pulls you in.
Yeah, and I'm drawn to this too, wondering. I mean, again, you have to wonder, are they taking a photograph through a window? And it could be, if it's through any sort of glass, it obviously could be something that's behind somebody. And of course, there's all sorts of things you could do with AI to manufacture things. That just complicates everything so much more. But there's just so much evidence. It's like absolutely overwhelming. And there's some very odd things going on when you look at the happenings around the world. The Czech police state that snipers are actively monitoring potential objects approaching Václav Havel International Airport in Prague. Prague, by the way, is, what a great example of beautiful, what you might want to call Tartarian architecture. Amazingly beautiful place. Snipers are on the roof and planes are taking off and landing. But it's just been UAPs and drones, or drones and UAPs. Mm-hmm. What's really going on? See, it's that lines being blurred, that I think is confusing a lot of people, which is making a lot of people anxious.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like they're a lot more active than anyone was when we had them over here. Over the coast. It was there. It seemed like authorities were very much ho hum, and the government wasn't really worried about it. And later on, they said, "Yeah, they were our guys." So it seems like these folks are taking this a bit more seriously, and I don't blame them. I would too if there's no answers.
I see. Oneness is doing a 3-day water fast. We're gonna touch on that and its benefits a little bit later too. Yeah, water fast is an amazing thing, and I think it's really, if you can manage to do it, it'll bless you in so many ways. Truly, we have so much of a toxic situation on the planet with the water, the air, everything, the food, that I think we always have to be thinking in terms of detoxing to keep our health. And really, again, there's this massive, massive plague of cancer out there like we've never seen before. It's very parasitic in nature in my mind, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, think about this. You got snipers on roofs watching UAPs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's like a strange sci-fi movie. Obviously, we have the tensions going on. In reality, a fourth boat was hit by the U.S. off the Venezuelan coast. Right now, over by the British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, there's a lot of U.S. and NATO military hardware. So there's a lot of open thinking about, is the U.S. going to literally invade Venezuela? And then there's this war on the cartels, kind of like a new war on drugs put on steroids going on that's been declared. But you have all the tension between BRICS and NATO, and then there's different tensions going on as well. Obviously, the left-right inside the U.S. is a huge, huge issue as well. This is a mysterious drone in Denmark. Frame-by-frame exposure enhancement reveals something strange, a strange vertical structure behind or within the vehicle. This is at Aalborg Airport. Again, Denmark, Sweden, Norway. These countries are having just so many sightings that you can't keep up with them. And then there's also, there's that ultra-terrestrial thing going on with this. But then there's also a very, very World War III type of feeling with Russia and BRICS against NATO that people are worrying about too.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what the structure is behind it. Could that be like a mothership?
Well, I guess that's what, he's wondering about. Very, very weird.
Could be they have to go back somewhere to charge. I would imagine, that thing probably has everything it needs. But then where does that thing get its energy, It's weird.
Then we have this. This lady is getting prepared in case of war and attacks. But, from what? From Russia and BRICS, or from ETs? As you see, Danes prepare for war and attacks. They're scared. They want to do something to prepare. They're confused. That's the thing. They're confused. They're gathering their emergency kits, blankets, water for days, receivers with a dynamo generator to hear the government's instructions, because their governments have told them, and this goes back a while, that we should be preparing for conflict. And again, who is that conflict really with when you get down to it? Again, there's more benevolent beings or indifferent beings out there, from what we understand, than there are negative, malevolent, non-human, ultra-terrestrial. Yet at the same time, we totally feel, from everything we've gotten, that we're under the control of malevolent ultra-terrestrials. Again, we could look back to our myths and legends and look at the battles between, again, the Olympian gods and the Titans, natural forces of nature. And you could really translate that in so many ways to being perhaps an equivalent to the devas and the devic forces that we see in Sanskrit and in the Vedas, in the Hindu tradition, who were always in an eternal battle with the asuras, who are very, very demonic. We're watching the myths play out now, and we're living them. Here you go, Camp Jomsburg. Norway oversees new drone base for Ukraine, established in Poland. Okay, so this is a drone base for Ukraine. It's in Poland, and Norway is overseeing it. And again, we have all these unidentified drones. Whose are they? Are they just simply ours? Or are they Russia and China's? Or are they ultra-terrestrial? I think it's probably a mix, really, when you're getting down to it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any clean-cut way to describe what's going to happen with these entities. I think it's going to be almost like when things do break out, I think it's going to be a bit of a dog pile with other entities coming in and doing what they think is right when the veil does finally burst. I don't know, looking at that Schumann, it does feel like something's definitely going on there.
Yeah, so yeah, it's good to see you guys talking about that. Yeah, double check your preps. We had a couple of mice in the house, which, that again is something to be on the lookout for. If you do have storage of, say, rice and beans, things like that, that critters could get into, just be aware of that and check on your stores. Make sure that you're rotating, as you buy new stuff. I do think it's wise to stay prepared because, the writing's been on the wall for a long time that they're trying to create a World War III. Again, war brings a lot of profit. It also brings an opportunity to hide and cover up so many things that go on during war. Just think about that. When you're in a wartime condition, when you have like martial law declared, it's kind of like a Wild West situation where anything can go. From the standpoint of the system hiding what it's doing, this is a Lockheed Martin Skunk Works engineer. His name is Donald Phillips, and he's talking about the fact that what they know. Again, Lockheed Martin, that's huge military industrial complex company. It's one of the biggest that there is. And he's just talking openly about, yes, of course, we have back engineered stuff. It took us a while to figure certain technologies out, but we figured them out and we've utilized them. So again, when you look to him, he's just one. There are so many people that have come straight out and said that, yes, the technology we have is 75, 100 years ahead of where people think it is. So when you're looking at your sci-fi movies, if you're looking at Halo and these type of things, that's a reality now. It's not off in the future. It's a reality now. They just haven't shown it to us openly. And he was also talking about the fact that there's 12 alien species that they have known about that are on the planet for about 75 years now, and that these species have been here for certainly hundreds of years, but in reality they think it's likely that they've been here for thousands of years. And then the question is, should we be nervous about them? Well, he said, well, they could obviously take us out at any time, wipe out humanity anytime they choose, and we're here, so he wouldn't be worried about that. But then we do see resets often. I mean, we see resets. The evidence of resets is everywhere if you just look, and more humans are looking.
The resets really are everywhere, and that's a concern. So you can't sit back. A lot of people say, well, nothing's really happened and nothing's going to happen. And you know, the chances are likely that we very well could be okay, but when you wake up and you start poking around and you see the mud floods and you see the evidence of the resets and you see the evidence of, you know, certain places that look actually melted, you know, you think, well, you know, maybe it wouldn't hurt just to have a few things ready.
Oh, absolutely. Soul Searching saying Jupiter ascending. Yeah, we gotta watch that again. We only watched it once, and that was so on. You know, maybe not the best acting, but overall the storyline was pretty good and pretty accurate. So he in this video too is talking all the way back to Eisenhower meeting with Greys. You know, again, the Greys, most Greys in our vicinity are nothing but, they're kind of like drones when you get down to it. They're worker bees. They're totally under the control of other entities, reptilian, and those entities that look very Pleiadian, you know, again, tall Nordics and the like.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different beings out there, you know, and I think 12 is like very conservative, extremely conservative.
Yeah, there's more than that. I mean, I think Cindy and I have had like direct contact with at least half a dozen different ones. If I really thought about it and sat down, yeah, there's been a lot of them. There's a lot of ones out there that we don't even know what their names would be per se. You know, they're not ones that have been identified like Arcturians, Andromedans, Syrians, Pleiadians, you know, Draco, different types of beings. There's a lot of them out there. Like when we were in the Nevada desert, we were both watching the ships go out of one portal into another portal over, you know, Nellis. And Cindy could see, you know, she could remote view the entities. And they were kind of like, what do they call those? Loompa Palumpas? Or
Oompa Loompas.
you remember Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Those are short little guys.
Short little guys like that, that seem to be happy. You know, almost like the dwarves, you know, whistle while you work, yeah, type of stuff.
They just had a job to do. They were perfectly fine doing it, too. It's like they were just minding their own business, and I think a lot of it is just like that. They're just doing what they do, letting us do what we do.
Yeah, you know, maybe 12 that have been officially categorized or what have you, but yeah, absolutely, it's more than that. And many of them look just like us. So many of them, you probably have. I mean, if you've been out there in a big city, you might have walked by one or more than one. And, you know, I think we have had encounters. I've shared with you my encounter in Florida with the tall gray. That started in Florida, but it followed us, you know, to North Carolina, and then it followed us to Nevada, and was harassing us in New Mexico too. Typically, the taller grays, which can be about 8 to 9 feet tall, they do have the ability to dematerialize and materialize. They do utilize a lot of technology. You know, a lot of it is technology as opposed to what you might call natural gifts. But there are beings with natural gifts out there that can do without the technology a lot of those things too.
There's plenty out there. You know, I mean, there was a thing that happened in Vegas not too long ago. I mean, that was very real, and that was kind of quelled, you know, somewhat quickly, but those things are out there, and they have that camouflaging ability.
Absolutely. And here you have Representative Tim Burkett from Tennessee talking to Avi Loeb. And, you know, so much has been just officially given to us and verified. Now, do we trust, you know, any of the officials? Not much, no. But at the same time, it's obvious there's many different beings involved in this. We've tracked things as big as football field, traveling 200 miles an hour. When asked about alien bases under our oceans, again, ultra-terrestrial bases under our oceans, I was told by a high-ranking official that these things are very real. There are 5 or 6 deep water areas in our oceans that have a high frequency of UFO activity. we, yeah, when I was over in the area of the Turks and Caicos Islands, there was a ship that came out of the ocean and followed the cruise ship I was on for a while. And it wasn't just me and some people that I had met there, but there was other people on the boat that were pointing it out and saying, look at that. So I do think, again, part of the Bermuda Triangle area is part of where there is these deep underwater bases, submerged bases.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any zones in particular where you see like major USO, I guess, underwater submerged?
There's huge cities under there.
Huge
There's huge
cities.
cities under there. I just can't identify exactly like where, but I see them. They're there. They're there.
Do you see, like, I'm just curious, like, how about the Gulf of Mexico? Probably not, because it's pretty shallow.
Can't see it.
You don't see anything
Mm-mm.
now, but I think more. Actually, I think too off the coast of California.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there's some
weirdness out
big
there for
ones
sure.
out there.
Yeah.
Besides the Bermuda Triangle area. When you look at some of the artwork, I mean, these beautiful religious masterpieces that might be 500 to 1,000 years old, showing this earth that has antennas on it like an old TV. And then you see some of the orbs that look a lot like that. Look at this one right here. I think there's a lot to tell here. There's an awful lot to tell. Also, the fact that you have what looks like a communication device here, and then in a different density here on Earth, you have religious officials, bishops, deacons, with something that looks like it's receiving a signal, perhaps getting instructions on what to do with the crazy humans here on planet Earth.
Oh, I know. I mean, look at that ball. I mean, the resemblance is pretty wild.
Yeah, Will says they used to say there was 57 species, just like the steak sauce. I always preferred A1, honestly, but yeah, 57, 40 races. Yeah, it's a big number. It certainly is. I think there's some that are more dominant, more prevalent than others. But yeah, I mean, we're loaded. So yeah, lots of good comments. Underwater base in St. Louis Del Mar Loop. Oh yeah, anywhere there's, like, I do think Kentucky too. Not underwater, but there's massive cave systems there. Lots of UFO sightings, lots of historical crazy encounters of different types, including direct encounters with obviously not humans in Kentucky, and which gets us pretty close to West Virginia and Ohio. And then you start thinking about the Mothman. What really was Mothman? I think we could definitely say the Mothman was an ultra-terrestrial. I know Cindy was able to tap into Mothman a little bit in the past. Definitely an intelligent being. There is the line of thinking that the Mothman was warning of the bridge collapse that happened. Point Pleasant. Yeah, I've been there. It's creepy.
Yeah,
It's
I think
creepy.
he had a good
You stand by
intention.
that statue and you feel the energy from the area. It has a similar resonance to the Devil's Courthouse in the greater Asheville area, like Judiculla Rock area. There's this, what I would say is kind of like it's an ultra-terrestrial energy. The giants, there's various species of those, and I hope at some point we get to go and check out the caves like around Lovelock. That would be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be a ton of fun going back out to the desert just for exploring. There's so much out there. I just love that desert.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Talisha says Mount Rainier. Absolutely, Mount Shasta. We met so many different energies in Mount Shasta. A lot of wonderful people. Beautiful place. Love Mount Shasta. And both, we felt very, very benevolent energies. We had contact with what we would say was fifth density beings inside Mount Shasta, but then we also felt very strong reptilian energies around the area too. More high vibe, but at the same time, do you remember we were in that one little section with the dogs and man, it just felt all of a sudden like you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, there was some energy saying, don't come over here, go the other way.
When we felt that in the desert too. So you have Dr. Stephen Greer commented on the carbon dating results for the Yugas sphere, which placed the artifact at about 12,560 years old. Additionally, 2 independent linguists from Europe have contacted him. And the linguists concluded that the inscriptions discovered on the Yugas sphere are in Proto-Sanskrit. So, wait a minute. Proto-Sanskrit. Now, we know Sanskrit is the oldest language on the planet. And obviously, it's still in use. We do Sanskrit mantras every single day. Very, very curious. So, maybe this sphere is not really ultra-terrestrial per se. Maybe it's more appropriate to say it's Atlantean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it definitely feels like, the energy and the things that are written on it feel they're charged with a certain type of energy. It's very curious. It's not any kind of writing. It's almost more like energy that's channeled on there.
Yeah, absolutely. See, like Dr. Combs is saying, why would Mothman help people? What's in it for him? A lot of beings don't operate on that draconian premise. Because that's a draconian mindset. What's in it for you type of mindset. That most of the beings out there are much more benevolent and simply would always be willing to help somebody without necessarily getting anything back.
Yeah, the poor guy might just look scary, and that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a very, very Kali Yuga type of mind, which we've been brought up with. But that's definitely not the mindset of the ages other than the Kali Yuga, than the Dark Age. No, because beings would look to naturally help out others without thoughts of getting something right back for themselves. But again, there is evolution, but it's not Darwinian evolution. Again, Darwin, 33rd degree Mason himself, survival of the fittest. That's exactly what keeps us divided and fighting each other. That mindset. Yet, when we look in nature, we find that these groups, of individual consciousnesses that work well together do the best because they pull each other up. So, I think survival of the fittest is going to find its death in the higher ages, and that'll all just be a bad memory. So this is fascinating, and then also besides that, this UFO sphere responds to Vedic chants. Oh, what? Yeah, it actually responds to the sounds of the Hindu mantras. So at first it looked like science, but what happened next felt divine. And in Mexico, scientists tested the mysterious Yugas sphere, unexplained object believed by some to be part of a UFO system. But the test was different. This time they didn't use machines, they used ancient Hindu mantras, sacred chants once believed to connect humans to higher forces. Yeah, they absolutely do. We've again had a lot of experience with this ourselves. It's part of our daily practice. The sphere began to vibrate. EMF meters surged. Something responded. Could these sacred sounds be more than just spiritual devotion? Were our ancestors trying to contact something beyond Earth? Are the chants not just prayers, but activation codes left by higher beings? Science doesn't have the answer, but maybe ancient India already did. Yeah, and in fact, again, right here is a full article, and there's video too, where you could actually see these guys, and they got their stuff beeping and all the like, and they're testing. And what they found was that when you have human voices doing these mantras, that's when the sphere starts to respond. That's pretty wild, but then again, it's probably programmed to respond to what was the language of its primary use during its day. So I thought this was really wild, but pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. It did set it off, and those Sanskrit mantras really change you. I mean, they change your world. If you're just really kind of stuck and you don't like the way things are going, those mantras are very, very helpful. And some say that you should stick to one mantra or two, but what I found is learning, and they're very difficult to learn. They're very, very difficult to learn, so I don't learn a lot. But when you learn new ones, it's like there's new shifts and new dynamics in your life.
Well, she says she doesn't learn a lot, but she knows at least 1 or 2 dozen. You do, and I probably know 50 or 60. And I do on a daily basis, probably, I don't know, 8 to 10 every day. But again,
you do what calls to you, I guess.
Yeah, whatever calls to you at that time. But they absolutely do work. Again, Cindy could see energy all the time to the very high degree. It's part of her gift. So when I'm doing the mantras, especially when we were like so isolated out there in New Mexico, where there was one person for every 2 square miles where we were, we did a lot of time with the mantras, and I would just be asking her the different colors and what they were doing as I was rolling through the different mantras, kind of experimenting. And they do work on your light body in different ways. Again, it's known in the Sanskrit tradition that the different mantras will affect you in different ways. Like when you do Ganesha's mantra, it's going to strengthen the root chakra. Mm-hmm. It's going to ground and root you. It's going to help you with overcoming obstacles, and also help build up physical vitality in the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very good. It's very life-changing. Something I suggest people give yourself some time and space, and learn one. Just one, or even just some of the root words can be very helpful.
Yeah, again, Loka Samasta Sukhi no Bhavantu. That's a beautiful little. It's not even technically a mantra, but it's a phrase that means, may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my words, acts, and deeds all contribute to their happiness and freedom. When you do that, and when you let it sink into your energy field, it's going to help you to not incur negative karma as quickly. It's going to lift you up in frequency, and it puts out a blessing for everybody that you come in contact with, and even the ones that you don't come in contact with. So this was really, really fun, and it was just a cool thing. There's been so many classic sightings throughout the years. There's been so much interaction with ETs. And what was understood in the ancient Vedic world was also that there's, for instance, in the Bhagavata Purana, it actually states there's over 100,000 different humanoid species in our galaxy. They understood this. They knew this. And that's the part that got hidden in the West and had to be eradicated, because they couldn't have us understanding that those that are controlling us are basically ultra-terrestrials. But there's different groups. So when you're doing your Vedic mantras, you're talking to the ones that were guiding humans through the Golden and the Silver Age and part of the Bronze Age. These are higher frequency beings that really just want the best for us. They look at us in many ways like spiritual children that they give good instruction to. But again, it's up to us to learn and grow, and it's up to us to walk in our own shoes. Very, very different from those that we would call the Asuras, who, when they came to the earth, the Vedic stories say, well, they just came down, they landed, they conquered a place, they set themselves up as the god kings, demanded worship, demanded tribute, just like the aristocracy that we have running the show today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very, very interesting, the energy that you can tap into and carry with you throughout the day. It changes you. It changes the way people interact with you. It changes your decisions that you might make. It just brings you to a higher place.
So the chakras, yes, when we look at the chakras, the 7 major chakras along the Taiji pole, or what we call the Taiji pole in Tai Chi, in Taoist philosophy, in medical Qigong, there's different sounds in the Sanskrit language, and these mantras have different combinations of sounds which activate different chakras. They are really the key to turning on the light body, help initiate the ascension process, the building of your Merkaba, and activating your pineal gland. So this is why, for us, this is the first part of what we do every single day, is we do the mantras. And then I usually do them again in my head at night going to sleep until I fall asleep, which also kind of puts me in the space to have a better dream situation as well, because it's pulling up my frequencies. And then I hear and feel these beings coming. Again, because you call them, it's just like picking up a phone. So, again, the mantras are made in such a way that they open up and activate different chakras. That's just part of their intent.
I don't know. I like this guy. If you're looking at the screen, there's something pretty enormous down there. It's like he picked up a whole tree and just walked it across somewhere. Pretty wild.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there was just dramatic music there. I don't know if it was...
What could it be?
The only thing it could be is an elephant, or I don't know. But we've seen weird activity, not to that degree, unless this is just simply a little AI. I suspect that this is a little bit of AI, or maybe this is coming from some movie that they did it with. But yes, there are a lot of weird things that do have a real basis that's not necessarily AI. Why did Elon's ex-girlfriend say this? What did she say? Well, let's listen to what she said here. And you gotta wonder, did Elon ever say anything to her that maybe most people don't hear?
Overall, I think there's quite a bit of abdication of responsibility around like, what are we going to do as people's jobs start being taken fairly aggressively? Luckily, there's a massive population drop coming, so this is
She said, basically the AI takeover is what she's talking about. Oh, and that is the regular speed. I was just checking it. That there's going to be so many jobs lost to AI, and then she said, luckily there's a massive population drop that's coming that should lessen that a little bit. What? Where's your head?
Yeah, that's a little bit weird, but we do know that the fertility rate's kind of dropping too.
Well, yeah, and Elon's always talking about that too. He's always tweeting. Rasta Bear, Rick Grimes, Walking Dead. Yeah, that would be one big zombie moving those trees. The whole idea of a zombie apocalypse, it might not be truly the dead rising from the graves or reanimated bodies, but truly more of a takeover by Nanu Nanu. You know, it's
Yeah,
if you
and
know what I mean there.
also that eagle report. Yep, there's that.
Yes, exactly. So the wealth of the top 1% reaches a record 52 trillion. The divide between the haves and the have-nots just keeps increasing. More people are in the have-not category than ever economically. The top 10% of Americans added 5 trillion to their wealth in the second quarter as the stock market rally continued to benefit bigger investors. All wealth groups saw gains over the past year, with the net worth of the bottom half of Americans increasing 6%. Well, part of that, too, is devaluation of the dollar itself. The dollar has devaluated by more than that 6%. So it might look like you're getting more value, but it's really that the dollar is worth less. Now, that growth rate has been the fastest for those at the top. The top 10% of Americans, again, what is that? Well, the wealth of the top 10%, it basically is anybody that has a net worth of $2 million or more. Then you're basically in that upper end. You know, you're in that top category. You know, it takes $2 million. I remember people when we were kids growing up saying $1 million, holy cow, you know, you're rich, you could do anything. You know, it's all relative. You know, it's all relative. Gas was like 60 cents, I think, when I was, you know, first driving, maybe even less than 60 cents. You know, a loaf of bread was like not even $1. So, you know, it is all relative again. But the main thing is that divide between the haves and the have-nots just keeps increasing.
It does, and it's so sad. And you know, to what point, I guess, is the question.
Well, you know, again, I think it's a ridiculous system, and a lot of people don't see anything wrong with it because they've never thought outside of the box of the system. Or again, the only choices are either capitalism, communism, socialism, fascism. None of it's a win-win scenario. You know, again, democracy, you know, if you have 50.1% and the other 49.9% doesn't like it, you know, how can we say that that's something, you know, where they should be made to, you know, agree to something they don't like? You know, again, democracy literally is the mob rules when you actually look at it. But then again, socialism, communism, all of it.
All the isms, they
all
all
the
have their
isms gotta
issues.
go. We need to just throw it out because there always ends up being this divide between the haves and the haves-not. You know, it's like it. You know, they're the ones playing. We're all playing Monopoly, but they're controlling the bank, and they feed themselves whenever they need to. But there are many people that are starving out there. Unfortunately, it is the case. It shouldn't be the case, but it is the case because the system is just a bad system from the start. Again, the Hawaiian legends, there's Hawaiian legends that remember this system was installed by reptilian beings that came from the sky. And before that, everybody just bartered and trade. That's all they did, barter and trade. No middlemen, no control system.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to keep working on going back to a symbiotic relationship, not a parasitic one.
Okay, so this one is, and you know, again, everything that we show doesn't mean that we agree with it, and not always disagree either. But I just wanted to share this. So this is Paul White, Gold Eagle. So he says, is this Red October month, the month of the Rothschilds, the Khazarian Mafia, the British Empire, Israel, and Ukraine will finally publicly fall? A reminder of what happened in October many decades ago. From London, the Rothschilds led the struggle against Russia, staged the October Revolution in 1917. Yeah, and also basically, you know, help Mao come to power. That was all funded by the Red Shields again. This quote is saying also, eliminated the royal family of the Russian Empire. And the maps that do show Tartaria show it in the greater expanse of the Soviet Union and the Russian Empire. So, was that kind of an eliminating of Tartarian royalty, so to speak? But when we look at the family there, the Romanovs, what's at the core of Romanov? Rome, right? And, Rome, of course, what we have today is still a continuation of the Roman Empire in more ways than one. But this is what the system does. It always usurps that which is before it. Like when you go to the Bible, you'll find references to El and references to Yah. And then also references in the plural, Elohim. All those were interused at different times. But, again, it's a revisionism. There is a class, the Masoretes, the Masoretic texts. Again, what's the job of the Masoretic scholars? They're constantly rewriting history, is what the scripture. They're rewriting the scriptures. It's just, this is what the system does. It just utilizes anything that'll work to its end as a tool, whether that's an economic system or whether it's religious ideology. It's just a tool. That's all it is. So this is going on and talking about, is Melania actually a Romanov? Have you guys ever heard of that? Now, the Romanovs were executed by the Bolsheviks according to history. But there's always missing body problems, and it's interesting to really just look at this because, again, as you look at John D. Rockefeller and then Melania with her transporting through a portal, which we talked about before in other videos, I didn't realize, or I hadn't seen before, where anybody had said that Melania is actually a Romanov. So Anastasia, there's rumors that have always persisted that Anastasia actually survived the assassination and lived on. And so the thought is that she's a descendant in that bloodline. So very curious, very curious. It seems that some people have gone down that that road before. Also, I saw one that was really interesting, which I don't think I grabbed here, but it was also depicting, remember when Melania, V for Vendetta? Let me bring up another one. But that was basically saying the vendetta was getting back at the system for what it did to the Romanovs.
Yeah, in the movies they tell everything. They tell you absolutely everything. Yeah. That was so obvious. Very clear.
Yeah, see, here he's not putting his hand on the Bible again. And you had that outfit. It was a very sharp, very sharp outfit, very interesting. Was it all about V for Vendetta? Was it truly about, the fact that maybe she is a descendant of the Romanovs? I asked Cindy what your feel was, because when I was starting to look at photographs of them and looking at Melania, younger photos, there is a vibe that feels kind of similar. But, if you do have Slovakian descent, which I do on my grandfather's side, we're going to kind of have some of those genes and stuff. Very curious. Very, very curious, though. I don't know if any of you guys ever heard of this before. Yeah, her eyes, too. You talk about resting BITCH face. When had you ever seen her smile? I don't think I've ever seen a genuine smile. It's like she's always mad.
Yeah, she's kind of like this eternally, very seriously, yeah.
Yeah, so it just hit me as very, very curious. It is true what happened to India during its 300 years as a British colony. Very sad, what happened to China with the Opium Wars. Because again, the British Crown was funneling in drugs into China. Again, the governments of the world have been the biggest drug dealers of the world. So, do we expect that it's any different today? I don't think there's any reason to think it's any different.
Nope, I don't think it is.
Nope. And then when you talk about that vendetta thing, then you think about RFK Jr. because of JFK and RFK. Is he on a vendetta? Or is this all just a big act and an illusion? Look at this. This is a massive new bridge in China. And in fact, up at the top, there is a restaurant you could sit at and have your meal looking way down. Up there, there's the
Wow.
restaurant. Up in there, they say, just crazy. Man, look at the size of that. Wow. I don't know. I'm not crazy about heights. Are you guys?
I don't know. I wouldn't mind. I'd try it. I would try something there.
Yeah, Cindy loves heights. She does. She's kind of a crazy woman when it comes to that stuff. Bungee jumping, sure. Study shows 72 hours of fasting can completely regenerate the human immune system. I don't think there's anything you could do that's more cost effective and give you more bang for no bucks than fasting. Honestly, I think it's the best. Now you might not be able to if you're too toxic, especially 72 hours. You have to monitor yourself. So many people have blood sugar problems. Brought on by our modern diets. So everybody needs to ease yourself into it. Start with intermittent, and go from there. But I did recently, probably 96 or more, and man, it was just amazing the difference in how I felt afterwards. And so I definitely do need to do it again shortly.
Yeah, it's hard to get it started, but always go slow when you do.
How about this? Age is not in your DNA. Aging is a program of mind control. It's a lie that people die of old age. Well, old age really can't be a cause. It's got to be heart failure. It's got to be whatever, cancer, brain tumors, whatever it is. Not actually old age. And the thing is true that the cells in our body are constantly changing and renewing themselves. Even in older people, there are many errors in cell reproduction, but there is also a biological, emotional reason for our death. It's not so easy for a person to die until the heart and lungs stop working. People don't die of old age or disease. People die of their emotional conflicts that have led to this aging and later death. There's no age for our DNA. We create boundaries with the years our bodies die. Aging comes from negative thinking and a low vibrational state of dominance. Yeah, I really think, again, when you look at it, our skin regenerates every 3 months, blood every 6 months, lungs each year. The liver heals in 18 months. The brain completely renews its cells every 3 years, skeleton every 10, every muscle and tissue regenerates in 15 years. Even our personality renews itself every 7 years. And we're not simply one consciousness either. We are a collective. Every individual is actually a collective. This is another thing that's allowed the system to lock people away in loony bins with schizophrenia. And what are they actually doing? They're actually tapping into their guides in many cases. They're actually, tapping into other beings that are there with them. Oh man, we have been so kept in the dark. It's just mind blowing, truly.
Oh yeah. When it comes to aging, I think that the trauma that we go through, they start you out with a big smack on the butt as soon as you're born.
Yeah, absolutely. We know more people now that have decided to have their babies not in the hospital, that have decided to home birth, to do things, in more ancient ways, or to die at home, even transition in a place that's comfortable. that you feel safe in, instead of transitioning in some sterile environment where it's just all about business, you know. And yes, there are so many good people working in the healthcare industry, but ultimately, the corporations that control things, at the root is corpse and corporation. And that's a soulless entity, and that is what has been running this world, soulless entities. So I do think, again, it's in different yugas. There are different life expectancies according to the Hindu tradition. So in a Kali Yuga, 100's the most that you could usually expect to achieve. But in a Bronze Age, and we are in a Bronze Age, yes, we just stepped in it about 18 months ago. Not even quite, maybe 16 months ago. 18 months, April. But you may be able to live up to 1,000 years. Think about, the biblical stories of the patriarchs. Methuselah lived 969 years. Well, that's because that was the end of the last Bronze Age, and again, the ether is changing, the elements are changing, and we're starting to understand, that we don't have to take the diagnosis of the system. Diagnosis, which usually leads to great profits for those that are diagnosing.
Definitely.
So it's just part of our learning. How about this guy, a Dracula parrot? Look at him.
He's handsome.
He is. He knows it too. He's got an aristocratic look to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much so. And then you got this guy. Now he's a real star.
He's a superstar, and today we have some Patreons that I wanted to say thank you to. We have new Patreons. It's always so exciting. It's a really great place to be. It's a nice little community over there, and people can talk and understand. Everyone is very, very kind, and we want to say a huge thank you to Barbara, Allison, Logan, and Mike. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And I just want to reiterate, we have a lot of friends that are doctors and nurses, and they're so well-hearted, and they're trying to bridge, the old and the new. And that's what we have to do is again, try to open up minds to new possibilities and understand we've all been indoctrinated. We've all gone through the brainwashing, and it's time now to awaken the potential in humans. It's far more than what we've ever been told in any of these dogmatic religions that we've been given, or political systems. We could do so much better. I can't wait for a new start to happen with especially geopolitical situation.
Indeed.
So guys, as always, much love. Thank you for your support. If you need to make an appointment with us, again, Vedic astrology, energy work, biofield tuning, spiritual coaching, life coaching in general, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.